Very warm welcome to each one of you. Very happy to have you here today. And this is a very, very important session on positive childhood experiences. Earlier, we have spoken about adverse childhood experiences, and today we have a very, very young doctor who's going to talk about positive childhood experiences and its impact on lifelong well-being. And he is heavily into research. And today's session is going to be an insight into science and society. So he has a very good touch with the society and also in deep with a lot of research that he has done, like 38 plus publications. Along with him, his young and dynamic with a lot of experience, and also along with him is his supervisor, ma'am Professor Saraswati from Delhi University also is going to join us in this session, and she again is a big expert in genetics, biochemical anthropology, public health, 200 plus publications. So we have two experts talking on this subject today. Of course, the subject is such an important subject, and it's important that as parents, as counselors, as caregivers, we need to get into deep dive into this subject and understand how we can support our children. So around 40 minutes, we are going to have question answers. I'm going to talk with Dr. Vineet today, and in the last 20 minutes, we'll keep it open for question answers from everybody. So hello, Dr. Vineet. A very warm welcome to you. Please take us through this topic itself. Why are we talking about this, and what is positive childhood experiences? What is the prevalence? So this is more about Indian context, because his research is lot into India. So if you can tell us the prevalence also and the patterns. So over to you, Dr. Vineet.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much for that welcome. I was just sharing the passcode with my supervisor, apparently. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did that, yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about the topic. I'll start with adverse childhood experiences because that is the topic from where we started. We, as in the ACE research itself, childhood experience research itself, started from adverse, and then we moved to positive. Adverse childhood experiences. The domain of study started. The first research that came was around 1998 by Dr. Vincent Falaty. So that was in United States, approximately 25 years ago. From there, people started realizing that experiences can have an impact on lifelong health, and that too particularly childhood experiences. Now, there has been a debate that why childhood experiences are more important than maybe adult experiences or experiences throughout the life. So there's a concept of critical window, sensitive window of growth. So these windows are the windows where whatever we are experiencing from whatever external stimuli that we are experiencing, they are going to affect our growth trajectories, uh, physiological trajectories, morphological trajectories. So when I'm saying morphological trajectories, this should be underlined. Why? Because morphology is something how your structure is. Okay, so when I say stress during childhood is going to affect the morphology of brain, that means it is going to alter the structure itself, the structure of the brain. That means the child is going to grow with a different brain morphology than other children who are growing up in non-ACE context. ACE stands for adverse childhood experience. So I'll be using this term
Yeah.
frequently. Yeah.
Yes.
So that was what we were doing for approximately 25 years. We, as in all the researchers working in this domain, and then in about last 7-8 years, we have started talking about the counter of ACEs, which are positive childhood experiences. So the question was, can we really counter the effect of ACEs? Because oftentimes ACEs are not something that we purposefully do onto the child. It is something that happens in the environment. So can we counter it? So that was the question, and that's when the study of positive childhood experiences grew. I would not say it started because it might have started early in 60s and even before that, but then it grew after 2010, we can say, and most recently after 2017-18. So that way, it is a very recent field of study.
Mm.
The question was, what is the prevalence? So first thing, the caveat is we do not have a formal definition for what constitutes positive childhood experience. So that is very, very contextual. One may perceive something as positive, the other may perceive something else. So because of this subjectivity, I mean, we are working towards a formal definition, but till this point we do not have. So we use operational definitions. Operational definition stands for approximate definitions by which we can operationalize a concept, we can measure a concept. So there are scales that are being used. One of the most famous scale is by Narayan et al. I can share the paper. So what it does, it is a scale of 10 points, and we measure the experiences. There are 10 type of experiences which we define as positive childhood experiences, and then we take score in binaries, yes or no, so whether the child has experienced it or not. That way the score can go as high as 10 or as low as 0. So in our study, which we conducted in India, the average score that we got was 8.7. So that way it is quite high.
Yeah, so the negative experience, so I would say adverse experiences were 8.7, the maximum
Uh,
score.
No, no, positive childhood experiences. So the
Okay,
scale of scale
positive
of
was
positive childhood,
8.7. Hmm.
8.7 out of 10. So that was the average of the entire sample that we had.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, and then we tried to look at the scores, how it is distributed. So we found that approximately 45% people are scoring 10 out of 10. That
Mhm.
means they had experienced all the positive things that were supposed to be experienced according to the scale. Approximately around 50% people had experienced 6 to 9 positive things, but then there were around 7% people who had experienced less than 5 positive experiences. Now, in terms of percentage, 7 may appear very small,
Small,
but in terms
yes,
of yeah,
number.
but in terms of numbers, it is still a very huge number. So 7% people in our country, young adults. So my study was among young adults. They claimed that they have not experienced even half of the positive childhood experiences that we were counting for. So yeah.
Sorry, but I want to know the age first, and also that would mean what number if we say like 7%, an approximate number, if we can, you can tell us.
Okay, so my study was based. My study included around 1,800 individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So 7% of 1,800 would be, I mean, it would be in hundreds. However, I'm talking about this sample represents the entire population of Delhi
Yes.
NCR, and
Okay.
that way India. So that way, 7% of Indian youth means,
Huge
I don't know
number.
that, yeah,
Yes.
huge number.
Huge numbers. Yeah.
So that way, a huge chunk of population claimed that they have not experienced even half of the positive childhood experiences that we were measuring, and even those who were in 6 to 9 bracket. Later on, we'll talk about it. Even that is not a very healthy bracket.
Hmm.
So those who are experiencing 10 out of 10, they are doing much better than those who have scored between 6 to 9. And obviously the worst outcomes that we noticed was in this group, 0 to 5 group. Yes.
So who is at risk, doctor?
Yeah, this is a very important question. Who is at risk? So we try to see the patterns.
Hmm.
We try to assess the socio-demographic patterns of positive childhood experiences, and then we realize that there are three categories, three groups of people who were at the highest risk. First is immigrants. And when I say immigrants, that means people who have migrated from, say, other countries and are now Indian citizens. So that is one group. Second group is those children who were obese during their teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
So now there can be a bidirectional relationship that obesity may be a cause of lower positive childhood experiences or otherwise as well, where
Yeah,
positive childhood
it's
experience is also low experiences are also contributing to obesity. Third is uh, individuals from LGB community.
mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
those who are sexual minorities, they also reported very low positive childhood experiences. Apart from that, mother education was also related to this. Father occupation was related to this.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, those families where father was in business,
Mm-hmm.
there we observed very low positive childhood experience and very high adverse childhood experience.
This is
Similarly,
this is an insight. This is a very big insight into this whole statistics that we are talking about. That businessmen, uh, children, they kind of face a lot of issues in terms of positive experiences. Yeah,
as
yeah.
well as adverse.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, families where fathers were in business, they had very high ACE score and very low PCE score.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So both way they are at disadvantage. About mother's education. So this is very how do
Again,
I
yeah.
put across? So families where mothers were not very highly educated, they
Mm.
were doing better in terms
Okay.
of,
Okay.
yeah, in
Again,
terms
this is
of.
an eye opener. This is again an eye opener. Yeah. Wow. Yes.
So, families where mothers were, say, school educated, they were doing better than those who were college educated. Yeah. However, there was slight risk if mother is not educated at all.
Hmm.
So, this was another pattern. Then there's one more interesting thing that younger siblings reported lower ACE score and higher positive childhood experiences score.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the eldest one are the ones who are at the risk of adverse experiences and having lower positive childhood experiences. Yeah.
That is a little bit understandable because for parents that's the first child and a lot of experimentation happens because they are
Yeah.
also born as a parent when the
Yeah.
first child comes into the world and so they are learning with the first child, so that's very much possible. Yes. Okay, so how does this impact the positive child experiences? How does it impact on overall health conditions like mental, physical, all over, lifelong resilience and
So I'll introduce two terms. One is protective effect. The other is called promotive effect. So
Mhm.
protective effect is when a stimulus or an experience is protecting against something, say adverse childhood experiences. Promoting effect is when it is independently promoting something.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. So, positive childhood experiences are highly protective in nature. That means if somebody is in high ACE context, if somebody is experiencing a lot of adverse childhood experiences, in that context, positive childhood experience is going to reduce the effect of adverse childhood experiences. So that is the protective effect. The promotive effect is we have seen that even in very low ACE context, even when there is no adverse childhood experience, positive childhood experience is linked to increased well-being, reduced depression. So that way, positive childhood experience can independently promote a lot of good things uh, in the health trajectory. Yeah.
Hmm, hmm. Okay, that's a good news. Uh, which species have strongest influence on
Okay,
mental
so
health?
again, this is a very important question, and we have an important insight on that. So I was talking about 10 types of positive childhood experiences that we usually measure. One of the important PCE, positive childhood experience, is feeling comfortable with oneself. So the question is, were you comfortable with yourself as a child during your childhood?
Is it related to self-esteem or how they look at their
Self-esteem,
body?
self-concept. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And this one was found to have the most important protective and promotive effects. So this one single item was related to reduced depression, anxiety, stress, better BMI status. So all these factors were related to just this single item. Other items were also associated. However, this one had the most important or most protective effect. So that is one. The second thing is the second in the order is a good school environment.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the question was, were you able to enjoy your school? And those who responded with yes, their mental health as young adult was much better than those who responded with no.
Is it the second in the list of like prioritizing? So it's first being self-esteem or
Yeah.
understanding about self, and the second is school environment. Yeah,
Yes.
it's that
Yes.
that much
Yes. Yes.
loaded. Wow,
Yes.
that is wonderful, and I'm
And the
curious to know now the third one.
no, the important point is which one was not associated, which one doesn't have so much of impact. So items like did you feel protected at home? Could you share your problems with your parents? These items weighed slightly lesser.
Mhm.
So we give so much of importance on parent-child relationship, how the child is able to communicate things with parents, but these things were not making as significant contribution as self-esteem was, maybe school environment was. So that way, having a secure, protective environment, that is important. But at the same time, when you are validating the child,
Mm.
when you are giving importance to their opinion, when they feel valued,
Mm.
that is something that matters maybe more than these factors put together. Yeah.
Correct. So from the bottom, we can say that it's the last point, which is not making so much impact, is can you repeat that last point?
Relationship with adults in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Having a good friend. So again, all these factors which we usually consider to be very important, they are important. I would not
Important, but at
discredit them.
the
Yeah.
bottom of the list. They were at the bottom
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
list, we can
Yes.
say.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Quite an insightful session so far. We just started. It's been, and there are more teachers here also. There are counselors. So I think this is going to be really helpful. That school environment really matters a lot, because maybe a lot of waking up hours is in schools, and
Yeah.
with the peers, with the teachers, how they are doing everyday daily basis, because whether it's sports or music or anywhere, how much they are validated, or what kind of conversations or treatment happens in schools makes a lot of difference in their lives. How do PCs buffer against the negative effect of ACs?
Okay, so the buffering phenomena, I just talked about the protective effect. So
Yes.
in our study, as well as multiple studies, we have observed that in the high ACE context, where there's a lot of adverse childhood experiences. In those contexts, those who have received positive childhood experiences, they are much more protected. They have less severe health outcomes in terms of depression, anxiety, uh, physical health outcomes than those who have not received positive childhood experience as well. So, if the context is bad, if the environment is bad, supporting the child with positive experience may be one of the most crucial things that can be done. In terms of numbers as well, people have tried to put the approximate number in terms of the cost, how much cost that it can save, how much medical expenses can go down because of positive experiences, or reducing adverse childhood experiences. And it has come uh, to the forefront that if we are able to do this one single thing, that reduce adverse childhood experience and promote positive childhood experience, we will be able to save uh, the number is in trillions.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think when we talk about businessmen, sorry, I'm like kind of singling them out. Then this amount will really comes as a shock to them, that if at all this proper environment or positive experiences are not happening, then otherwise the business which they are into for, of course, for making a lot of money is going otherwise in taking care of the health, mental, physical health, right? Yes. Okay, wonderful. So I think we are talking a lot of statistics and research, but what can parents do? That also is an important aspect that we are going to talk about. This one question: how do we undo the trauma in a child adopted at older age, say 10 plus years? So this question, would you like to take?
Uh, so before that, I'll just slightly explain the structure of ACEs, and perhaps that will help understand this question. So, in terms of adverse childhood experiences, we divide it into broadly four types.
Mhm.
One is called household dysfunction, where there are items like parental death, parental divorce, single parent families, etc. So, one category is household dysfunction. The other category is called neglect. The third category is abuse. And fourth category is violence.
Mhm.
So, when we look at the list, as in when I started with this study, and when I looked at the list, I thought household dysfunction would matter the most.
Mhm.
And then I placed abuse, and probably down below I placed neglect, etc. But for me, household dysfunction was big things, because there are big ticket things. For example, parental death. I mean, we believe that it is going to have lifelong impact. However, our experience, as well as this is uniform experience across countries, India, United States, Europe, etc., that household dysfunction probably matters the least.
Mhm.
That means parental death, parent going to jail, divorce in the family, single parent household, these factors do not contribute as much to bad outcomes
Mhm.
as abuse,
Mhm.
neglect. Okay.
Oh,
Then
wow.
we try to understand the factors. Why is it that childhood experiences in terms of bad household setup is not contributing a lot? So there we realized that abuse is something that is directed towards the victim, the child.
Hmm.
So when abuse is happening, the child is going to create a self concept. So if emotional abuse is happening, for example, or if bullying is happening, that in that process, what is happening? Child himself or herself thinks
I'm not good.
that they are,
I'm not good
yeah,
enough. I'm not good enough. And people
yes,
don't like me. And he also starts like kind of have a very negative opinion about himself.
yes,
And,
yes.
and that contributes
However,
a lot in your 10 scoring thing, that contributes a
yes.
maximum to the, yes, yes. Go ahead, doctor.
But when there's parental death in family, when there's divorce, obviously it is going to affect the child. But child would not start thinking that he is responsible for that. So when household dysfunction is there, when something bad is happening in the family, child will be affected, but it is the entire family that is dealing with it. But when you are telling a child that you are incapable, you won't be able to succeed, all these kind of statements we make very often. I mean, in Indian families, I
Yes.
don't know about present generation, but our generation grew up with that. Now you are incapable, you won't be able to do it.
And
This
very casually,
very
parents will
casually,
say, "Ki, you're good for nothing, and what's going to happen in
yeah,
future about you," and things like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that affects them a lot.
In fact, after bullying, emotional abuse is something that affects the most.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if I am to rate adverse childhood experiences, first is obviously bullying, that is at number one, and at number two is emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And then comes other abuse, for example, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and towards the bottom side
Mm-hmm.
is say separation in the family, or a parent going to jail, or
So somewhere they
death
are
in the
able
family.
to
Yeah.
kind of, they are able to cope, we can say they are able to cope with those kind of losses in the family, but they are not able to cope with the abuses that is happening.
Abuses somehow affects your self concept, how you perceive yourself in longer run.
Mm.
So that way, dealing with the parental death can be, it is obviously going to be challenging for a kid. However, it is something that one can deal with support of other people, other family members. And in such situations, the child is going to think himself as a victim. So if something happens in the family, we understand that it is not our fault, we are the victim here. But in case of abuse, especially bullying, especially emotional abuse, the child starts thinking that it is probably my fault, I am not the victim, I am the source of it, I am the fault. So and this is not something that is happening at psychological level. As I earlier mentioned, it is happening at physiological level and morphological level. So thinking pattern is not, it is not just that thinking pattern is getting altered, the
Mm.
brain structure itself is getting altered.
Getting
So
altered.
that,
And
yeah.
is that repairable or reversible, or how does it go then?
So it is to some extent bufferable.
Mm-hmm.
However, if we say that we can keep abusing the child till 18 years, and after that we'll do some patchwork and the child will be all right, it is not going to happen.
See,
So
50 plus people are here, 50 plus people are here, and this is such a great insight into why this is happening and how much it is impacting. So, so Dr. Vineet, if you can tell, like, t- say today a parent got to know, and the child is say 4, 5. So, what age? What age when we cross we can say that now this is irreparable or something, because the brain, the whole structure of the brain is changing. So what do you think that is the age which
so
is
no, so if the child is just 4, we can start working with the child, and a lot of good changes can be done.
mm-hmm.
However, if somebody is already 18, 19, then the approach would be very different.
Mm-hmm.
So positive childhood experiences, obviously the child is already 18 plus. So we have missed the critical windows. I was referring to critical and sensitive windows. So these are the sensitive windows where good things and bad things both can affect the child greatly. So once we miss that window, then we'll have to take another approach, which may range from say preventive things, for example, preventive steps for obesity, hypertension, etc., to treatment. But it is if the child is still young, maybe 10, 12, etc., at that point in time we can start with the positive aspects, we can start building the self esteem of the child, self concept, and that can buffer the effect of negative things as well as promote good things independently. Yeah.
Yes, so early the better. Whenever
Yeah.
you parents get aware of these things, it's better that they immediately start uh,
Yeah.
the strategies, the ways of boosting their confidence and giving them that positive experiences.
Yeah.
Um, can positive experience fully combat the impact of adverse experiences?
Well, again, answer is not fully. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
not fully. But as I said, all the big ticket things in our mind, for example, death, divorce, all those things, they matter less. So
Yes.
that way, the inevitable things
Hmm.
in the scheme of adverse childhood experiences, they do not matter as much as the those things which we can which we can act on. For
Yeah, we
example,
can
abuse.
control. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. The message is loud and clear. The things which are not in our control, like death or sometimes even jail or single parenting, there are many circumstances that
yeah,
goes behind it. But whereas neglect and abuse is something that we have total control over it, like whether father or mother, that environment at home matters a lot, and environment at school, because even
yeah.
the principals and the heads of the different department sections, it's important to see, and they are, I mean, I see, I speak to a lot of teachers and principals, and I see that they do their best to give the best environment to children. But yes, sometimes this kind of an awareness, this kind of a depth of study will help them to understand which area to focus more. So I think this is a great insight for everyone. Dr. Vineet, thank you for that. This one more question I have, and then I'll go to the chat, and we can also
Yeah.
open people for asking questions. Um, which adverse childhood experience have greatest impact, long term and practical? What are the practical ways to counter them? So now I'm talking about
So
adverse childhood experience. So we were
yeah.
talking about positive. In adverse childhood experience, which factor is the most important?
So as I was saying, the most important is bullying. So I'll differentiate between bullying and emotional abuse here because I keep talking about these two. I was again, before starting the study, it was around 7 8 years ago. If somebody would ask me which one do you think would matter the most, I would go for the household dysfunction, as I told you.
Mhm.
However, through the journey of these many years, I realized, and I keep talking about these two in particular, that these are the most important ones: bullying and emotional abuse. Okay, I'll differentiate how bullying is different from emotional abuse. So bullying happens when somebody from your peer circle is cornering you. So if my friend is doing it or my junior is doing it, that amounts to bullying. But when a senior, somebody who is like a lot senior to me, for example, my parents or somebody, say teacher, or a household member who is like very elder to me, maybe grandparents, etc., that amounts to abuse. So there is a power hierarchy there. Now, abuse can be sexual, can be physical, but even these abuse, they do not affect as much. I mean, they do.
Yeah.
I would want to stress that they do, but not as much as emotional abuse
Emotional
does.
abuse. So
Yeah,
the emotional abuse tops the list of abuses, you mean to
tops
say?
tops the
Yes.
list.
Of
Tops the
course,
list.
sexual abuse and physical abuse
Yeah,
definitely matters a
yeah,
lot, because sexual abuse happens. I mean, even in the family itself, it happens,
yeah.
right? But emotional abuse is topping the list. Yes.
Yes. So most of the
Can you
time
give an
when
example? Can you give me one example?
of emotional abuse.
Yes, yes. And also, like, since you are into so much of research, you might have come across while talking, while doing your research of kinds of abuses in emotional arena.
Yeah. So
A case
emotional
study.
abuse. Emotional abuse is these kind of normal. Sometimes we believe that these are benign. These are
Mm,
not going to affect. So, telling a child that you are incapable, we are
mm.
going to abandon you, we'll throw you out of the house. So these kind of stuff, small things. But
Yeah.
then these things,
Sometimes, yeah,
yeah.
sometimes they are put in the room, and I will lock you in the room or in the bathroom, like
So
this.
when they're logged, that is physical abuse.
Mhm.
But when they're just
Just
being
talking.
told,
Yeah.
yeah, that we
Mm-hmm.
lock you, we are going to throw you out, आपको भेज देंगे यहाँ से. Yeah, those kind of things.
या
These
मैं
are,
छोड़ के चले जाऊंगी, या
yeah,
something like
yeah,
I will leave you if you are going to bother me so much, I'm going to leave you.
yes, yes.
Just saying
So
this can be
these,
traumatic.
yes, because why? Because we keep repeating these things time and again. So physical abuse is something that would happen, say, once in a month, once in 6 months, but verbal abuse or emotional abuse happens all the time.
Yes.
That is first thing. Second thing, when these things are being said, the child is going to think about it. So the child will keep thinking now why my mother is saying that she is going to leave me, why she is saying that I'm incapable. See, I'll also differentiate telling a child that you are wrong and telling a child that you are incapable are two different things. Okay. So when it is required, you can tell a child that you are wrong. This has to be done the other way. This is
Yeah,
not the
you're
way.
wrong, or we can just say the behavior or the work, maybe that this behavior is not correct. Maybe
Yes.
what you're throwing things is not correct. Instead of you are wrong, we can
Yeah.
just say something like their work related, their action related. Yes, but but just saying that you are no good.
Yeah. Yeah.
is a big blow. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So somebody was asking about the case study.
Yes.
So I'll briefly mention a case study of bullying. So there was this young adult I was interviewing, very, very impressive student, good, pleasing personality, everything kind of good. So I was talking to him, everything was going fine. And then comes a particular point where the person says that he has faced bullying. I was like, what kind of bullying? So he had dark complexion. Okay. So then he started talking about his childhood, the school days, where people would bully him because of his skin color. And it was to the extent that his school days, he in his words, it was ruined because of the skin color, the complexion. However, he was talking about the present time when he was 23, doing masters and all those things, doing really good. He was like, even if even if I hear somebody in the room talking anything at a distance and the word black comes,
Mhm.
the
That
word
triggers
yes,
the.
yes.
Yes.
The person was describing the situation where he would be afraid of sharing food because he doesn't know how the person would react to it because of his skin color.
Mhm.
So do you see how the trauma works?
Mhm. Mhm. It is extended. It is like it's gone to, I mean, blown out of proportion, we can say, because that little thing that happened in the childhood and color and also the weight, obesity, all these things
Yes,
are, I mean, children are normally they tease. I mean, general, it's like a normal thing for them. But children who
yes,
are victim, they take it, carry it, and it has a long-term effect.
yes,
Uh, yes. So there are few questions. Should we go to the questions,
for sure.
Doctor? So
Yeah.
I'll scroll up a little bit because there are some questions on the top and how much it is important for a parent to be or a toddler parent to know about positive parenting at early childhood stage of their offspring rather than looking for solutions at later age. Of course, it is definitely important and we have spoken about
Yeah.
it. So Hasina, this question is answered. Um, can you explain? Now, this is something important. Can you please explain morphology? That is change in the brain structure,
Hmm.
and yeah, if you can explain that, and again, can it be reversed? It's not there, but I would definitely would want to know. Yes.
Okay, so morphology, I don't know how deep I can go because you asked me not to use too much technical language. Uh,
Sorry.
yeah, but I'll try my best. So when we talk about morphology, we are talking about the structure as in how neurons are connected to each other, how the brain development is going on. So as we know that brain keeps developing throughout the teenage and much into the young adulthood as well. So when I'm talking about the changes in structure, there are areas which are emotional centers. We have seen variations. So those who have not experienced adverse childhood experiences, their emotional centers, their prefrontal cortex, where most of the thinking happens, their size, shapes are different from those who have experienced adverse experiences. Okay. So and apart from that, I was talking about the physiological process as well. So physiology where your functioning is affected, not the structure per se. So in those kids, in those adults as well, who have faced a lot of adverse childhood experiences, we have constantly found higher levels of cortisol. So cortisol is the stress hormone at so it is going to be higher than what it should be, and it is constantly there.
Mm.
So those people who have experienced a lot of adversities, they are going to operate for rest of their lives at higher levels of cortisol. They are going their body is going to be in flight and fight mode all the time. So they are going to be hyper vigilant. Anything that happens, minutest of the things, they'll go into that mode. Their hormonal response will be much higher than those people who have grown in a low ACE context, high PCE context. So that way, the cortisol thing is there. Apart from that, the trigger of stress response system, that operates very differently in these people. As I said, they are always in fight and flight mode. Hyper vigilant people, they are going to sense uh, harm from the environment, so they are always perceiving something bad is going to happen to them.
So
And
they feel insecure, can we say, and there is a survival brain which
no,
is
yes, yes, yes. So insecurity is something when you're perceiving it on your own. Everything that I'm talking about, that is happening in the survival brain. Survival brain is where you do not have direct control. So you're not thinking about adversity.
it is
I mean, you
happening.
may also think about, but then your body is programmed that way because for first 18 years, for first 15 years, that's what you have learned. Your body has learned. So your mechanisms are adapted in a way that it is going to activate all these stress related factors as soon as the body perceives any slightest of discomfort, not in terms of physical discomfort. I'm talking about a stressful situation. Yeah.
Beautiful. I think even Renu ma'am is here, and we would also want her to, because she has a lot of expertise in this area. And also, if she wants to contribute something, and also, please, I would request people to come on cameras because we have very few minutes left. And if you that it will be really nice if we have you on camera and we can have dialogue with you. You can answer your questions. Thank you so much, ma'am. Would you like to kind of
Can I
contribute?
address a couple of questions that came in?
Yes.
First of all, Vineet, I think it was a wonderful session. The research has been so interesting, and it has actually broken so many myths also. It has broken so many myths. There were a couple of questions on how to cure adolescents who've gone through childhood trauma and how to help an adopted child 10 above to deal with the trauma. If I may share my experience, I'm not saying I'm right, but we can't cure anything. And what we can do is we can help manage, we can help the children how to manage the adversities that they are facing, how to help them understand that they are now in a safe zone. They don't need to be in the fight, flight, freeze mode. And for that, parents, teachers, what we need to do is we have to actually connect at the emotional level, at the feeling level, rather than at the behavior or action level. I mean, like the brain develops, the emotions are what develop first, and then the logic develops later. So that is why it is very important if we as parents, when we see a child behaving in a certain different manner, we actually address the feelings. You're behaving like this, looks like something is disturbing you. Can we talk about what is disturbing? And then to be able to say that I'm not going to judge you and I'm only going to listen. And after that venting has happened, we can together say, okay, how can we now resolve this? What are the options we have? Action is over. Whatever had to be done is over. But now, how do we manage it? So I just wanted to thank you, Rozina, and thank you, Vineet, for letting me speak. I wasn't prepared for that. But just since you asked the question and I saw a couple of questions,
Yes.
I just
Yes.
want to share my
This is
experience.
absolutely valuable insights and I would say guidance you have given, ma'am, and that's really much needed here because there are many parents who are asking how to help them and hyper vigilant children. How do we really calm them down is by listening and being with them to their emotional level. I would say. Sometimes I even say connect before you correct. So instead of going to the behavioral level, first we connect with them. And this one again question I think related to that. I will read it. I'm a bit stressed due to my child, which is in 90s, late 90s. Just few days back, step back from what he's supposed to. Of course, due to emotional support from maternal side, they do not want to lose him. What should and must be done?
No, I could not understand the question.
So I as if at all whoever has posted, because I see there's a phone. There's no name there. So if you would like to unmute and give some more details, it will be easier. What I have understood is 19-year-old kid step back, did something which he didn't do. I mean, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. Maybe he kind of did something which was worrisome for the parent. Worrisome for the parent. Okay. So how do we really give the emotional support?
Uh, okay, so I don't know if this
You step
directly
back
comes.
from internships. Okay, sorry. So there's some more little detail here, and Renu ma'am also I would like to know from you. He stepped back from internship, so he was into internship. So I think here we need to get into a lot of details of what is happening, right? So, but yes, from whatever information we have, if both Dr. Vineet and Renu ma'am, if you can kind of help this parent, Dr. Vineet first.
Well, I don't think parenting is my domain. So, yeah.
All right. Okay, Renu ma'am.
Yeah, okay. I just say there is one single template with which we work to, like you very rightly said, we connect before we correct. And the connection happens only at the feeling level, not at the action level. It is only around 21, 22 that the frontal part, the front part of the brain is developed. And that is where the brain, the person understands logic, explanation, discrimination, planning, prioritizing, and so on. So if the child is young, 19, this part is still just developing. It hasn't developed because it's around 22, 23. In fact, they say that the adult age should be moved to 25 or 23. Netherlands has already moved it to 23. So connect before correct is the first thing. Connection happens only when we speak at the feeling level. You seem upset, you seem hurt, you seem sad. Can we talk about it? And then let the talk. As the child speaks, there will be many more feelings that will come. It may start with sadness and may go hurt, it may go to anger, it may go till the child is emptied of its good part of its feelings. We just stay at the feeling. And after that, we say, okay, it is really sad. For example, in adoption, children are bullied that you're adopted. So then we say, okay, they're bullying you. It must be very hurtful for you. And you are adopted. We are there for you. We are your parents. How do you think we can manage this situation of bullying in your school? So help buy-in from the child in the resolution of the problem, of the challenge that the child is facing, and let the child speak first. Like we said, give a voice to the child. After that, we don't like the suggestions given by the child, and we say, okay, how are trying this? But not ever trivializing the matter that the child is going through. Spoken too much.
Lovely.
Thank
I think beautiful. I think you gave a complete roadmap from how to start. And so normally I also give this few steps saying that you first listen without any judgment, without nothing, without interruption. Because when they come with unpleasant experiences, sometimes we interrupt and stop in between, and we kind of maybe say something which will stop them, which may stop them. So just without interruption, just listen completely with acknowledgement, and then give the feeling a name. So now it's so important to just name the feeling, because sometimes they are not able to tell clearly what is happening to them. So sometimes, oh, this must be, you must be angry, you must be feeling angry, you must be upset. This is so annoying. And that's how you connect with the child, because he feels, okay, my mom now understands me. That's how they are open to talk about what is happening with them. But sometimes in the rut of life, so parents, there's so much of race and pace of life that even both the parents are working today most of the time. So it becomes difficult even for parents. So they just need to sit down and think what is important, and how they can, because these experiences are going to last with the children for so many years. As Dr. Vineet spoke just now, that there is a lifelong impact. The brain structure changes, the cortisol level, the stress hormones are there always, like fight and flight, and the survival brain is active all the time. So many times, I mean, even when my children were growing up, I had no awareness of these things. So parents are not aware, and this is an attempt to just tell them very loudly and clearly by all of us that yes, you play such an important role in forming a personality, a brain of a human being. So I think my answer was also quite long, but sorry, excuse me for that. But yes, any more questions here, please? Very beautiful, Renu ma'am. All praises for you. Very beautifully explained. I'm touched by your words. Renu ma'am, for you. And Vineet, beautiful. I mean, the way you kind of laid the entire thing with numbers, which factors are contributing the most. I think that is an eye opener, because we know the direction now, where to focus, what to do. Uh, Again, Asha is telling what I look back. When I look back, I realize I have done a lot of emotional abuse with my first child. I only hope, wish, pray that he realizes that is also a work in progress, and forgive and become a good citizen he really is. Asha, just by saying this, I think all the wishes and all the prayers from everybody here that yes, it will happen. The intention when you set it, I think that reaches your child. And forgiveness, even children, when you are there with your all your humility, and you're talking to them and you apologize, there are steps in apology also, that you know how I can amend this, how I accept it, and I assure. So these are few steps that I'm talking about in apology. When you apologize, and there's no there shouldn't be any hesitation in giving that apology, I think so. So when you say I'm a mother, I'm adult, how can I go and say sorry? No, you systematically sit with them, tell that what I did was because I didn't know any better. So you have to tell that I didn't know any better, and so I made these mistakes. And just hope and pray, and you can kind of always, there is a room for improvement. Always there is a room for forgiveness, and children, they understand. The love is there always. Renu ma'am, I think in this session I'm talking too much. Renu ma'am, will you please kind of say something to Asha so that she gets more insights on this, and also Dr. Vineet?
First of all, I must empathize with Asha because I've done the same thing. I used to be so very strict with my older child, and like Vineet also actually brought out that the older children have far more, fewer positive experiences than the young ones. And my younger one is Binda. She doesn't bother at all. My older one, in fact, Asha, I still feel my older child has been very magnanimous in not. I ask him off and on. I ask him, he's 40 plus now. I ask him off and on, tell me what is it that is bothering you? Like Rosina said, we didn't know when we were parents, when we were young parents at that time. So he is very magnanimous. I told him, I have been little rough on you, harsh on you. Whereas with my younger daughter, it was nothing. She grew up on her own, and she grew up much more very confident and all that. So he is very magnanimous. He says, no, it's okay. I also understand you didn't know at that time. And like you said, work in progress. You were also work in progress. And I must say, I agree with Rosina. Once our thought process changes, that, okay, even if I don't go and seek forgiveness and say, please forgive me, that thought reaches him. And just to give you, I don't know how old your older one is, but mine is 40 plus. It says that, yeah, it's okay. I really am not scarred by what you did. I do remember some of the things you've done, but I'm not scarred by it. So that is very encouraging for me. I don't know if that answers the question. Yeah, your son is 23, less than half my son's age. It will hopefully, when you say, like Rozina said, I really didn't know. And I feel bad now about what I
I
did.
did this whole process with my son, and he is 33, and so he had things to talk about me. So see, we didn't know. I was 21 when I had 22 when I had the first child. So I grew up almost with my son, I can say. And we don't know. So I apologize to him. So, and which is okay, which is
Yeah.
important for a relationship. So
Okay, my submission is my work is not on parenting. I want to
yeah, no
clarify that.
worries. No, so
My
what
work,
you did, Dr. Vineet, you gave us a direction. As I said, I mean, see, even Renu ma'am agrees that there are a lot of insights from your research that all the parents got today, right? So that's such an important contribution to this whole session today. Yeah. Uh,
Also, lots of eye opener.
yes,
This was really very nice. We came to know so much of knowledge.
thank
absolutely.
you,
Lot.
ma'am.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Amita is a tutor, and she is also a counselor to a lot of students and parents. And really happy to have Amita today with us and a lot of other people. And I think this session has really helped people to a great
A lot.
extent. Yes. And yeah, any last questions? If they are, I want to kind of take any questions if they are.
Can I
Yes,
share my
Cindy.
number? A couple of people have
Ma'am,
asked.
please,
Can I
ma'am, you
share
can
my
share.
number?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. Go ahead. And also, I will share in the groups about the Sneha Society, and they are doing wonderful. And if you would like to talk a little bit about Sneha Society, how it's helping people, ma'am, and how they can reach out to Sneha Society for any help, what kind of help, if you can just inform, please.
Sure, thank you. So we have our center in Malleshwaram in a school, and we work Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday from 5 to 7. And Sundays it is by appointment. We have 3 helplines. If you go on the website, I don't remember the helplines by heart. If you go on our website, Sneha Society for Counseling, you can call the helpline numbers. They will they will either guide you to the center, or we also do telecounseling. So they can put you on to us only. We are telecounselors. We go to the center also, and they will put us on to us to meet at a mutually convenient time. So that is the kind of work we've completed 20 years um, at our center. And so yeah, we are enjoying the work that we are doing, and we find that the stigma has reduced because we find that the number of people are coming to our center and reaching out to us through the helpline has also increased. So does that answer your question? So we are based in Malleshwaram, Central West Bangalore. You can come to the center. There's walk-in except on Sundays, or you can ring up the helpline and fix up a meeting for a telecounseling.
I've shared my number as well in case if anybody has any questions or needs, like Dr. Vineet, people are asking for the link for your research. So you can either share it here or you can share it with me and I'll share it in the group.